Most of us suffer from fear of rejection or fear of abandonment, which always shows up in our relationships. Sadly, we aren't able to identify the symptoms of these fears, and we attack our partner instead. That's why it's so important that we get to the root of our issues and the root of our traumas. There was some trauma that we experienced early in life, whether it was our parents getting divorced, whether it was a parent dying, and that left us deeply traumatized. This is something, when it's not dealt with, it will show up in your relationships over and over and over, and it has the potential to destroy you and destroy your relationships. We tend to internalize these fears. As a child, you cannot possibly understand what you're going through, you can't articulate what you're going through, and you can't manage the feelings that come along with that trauma. So rather than getting the love and the stability that you need, instead you become unstable, emotionally unstable, potentially mentally unstable as a result of the trauma as well. And you become one of two types of people as a result of that trauma. So the first type of person grows up and says, I by no means will allow anybody to hurt me. I will not be traumatized again. I will do whatever it takes to feel like I am loved. And that always translates into I will do whatever it takes to be in control. So that type of person seeks control and manipulation, but they see it as love. Then there's the second type of person who says, I by no means will allow anybody else to feel what I felt. And so that person becomes so welcoming, so inviting, and so loving that they put everybody first. So they consider other people first, other people's feelings first, and they rarely consider their own and neglect their own feelings, their own concerns, and themselves, essentially. But for both types, there's a very deep-rooted sense of insecurity, instability, and a very deep-rooted sense of I'm not safe, I'm not loved. And it's all subconscious. You're usually completely unaware of these feelings, but they dictate how you feel about yourself and whether or not your relationships are successful and functional. So carrying the very real fear of abandonment and the fear of rejection means that you will develop some defense mechanisms. And you become very sensitive to the possibility and the potential to being rejected or abandoned, even if it's not actually happening. One of the defense mechanisms is to build a wall so high that you're kind of trying to punish yourself for how you feel. So this is what's known as self-sabotage. It's where you really don't want to lose your partner, but you're really afraid you're going to lose them. So rather than being rejected and being abandoned, you initiate the abandonment and rejection, even though you don't want it. So even in the cases where your partner really loves you, you will find yourself doing things to push them away, to kind of test their love, or to cause them to reject you or abandon you because you believe the abandonment is inevitable, and at least you feel like you are in control by causing it to happen and initiating the abandonment and rejection. When you're someone who fears rejection and abandonment, you can put too much pressure on your partner. And you can put unrealistic and unfair expectations on your partner that they cannot possibly meet. And you'll feel threatened by anyone and anything that appears to have the potential to pull your partner away from you or to take their attention from you. So if you suspect that you have fear of rejection and fear of abandonment issues, here's some things that'll help you in your relationship. Number one, when you start to feel angry, ask yourself first, am I afraid of something? Being mindful of these fears is very important if you expect to ever have a chance at a healthy relationship. Pay attention to the moments where you feel unsafe and unstable the most. And that will help you put into perspective what is actually happening as opposed to what you fear could happen or could be happening. This is one of those defense mechanisms where they're really just trying to keep the hurt out and away from them. And usually this is the partner that constantly threatens to leave but never leaves. Or the partner who says, I don't need you. I can do all of this by myself. When our fears and emotions are working at the same time, they have a very funny way of deceiving us into believing that something's happening that isn't actually happening. Take the time to sit down and write out what is it that you're afraid of in your relationship. Nowadays, we hear a lot about cheating. And it's a very popular topic. And the reason why it's a very popular topic is because it is a very big fear for most of us. And that means that most of us do have fear of rejection and fear of abandonment issues. And so in the cases of cheating, if you fear that your partner is cheating, they may be cheating, they may want to cheat, they may desire someone, and they may end up cheating, you have to be very honest with yourself, and you have to develop the relationship skill of being able to talk to yourself and check yourself first. See, most of us have spent more time trying to get to know our partner than we've ever spent getting to know ourselves. So to sum it up, the fear of rejection and the fear of abandonment can control your entire life if you allow it to. And it can rob you of real love. Sometimes your partner doesn't even need to change. You need to change your mind and understand where your issues are coming from. When we know better, we can do better.